We start tonight's broadcast with a bird's eye view of beautiful San Marcos, Texas, where the reigning WPF champion Texas Smoke play for their 18th win in a row. Last night, another run rule victory for the champs, so it's on the expansion Monarchs to bounce back as they take the field for Game 3 of the series. Coming to you on the official WPF YouTube channel, Brant Freeman alongside Haley McKay. It was a 9-0 win for the Smoke last night. Haley, 4 more home runs at the plate, but in the circle, Autumn Pease was just as impressive.
Autumn Pease for the Texas Smoke set the tone from pitch number 1 last night. Her changeup was so effective all throughout the lineup. She threw it in any count she wanted, and it really set up the rest of her pitches to then let her offense do what they do best and get out of here with another run rule victory.
Good look at Monarchs head coach Candace Fitton-Bachbrader from her to her starting pitcher, Sona Halajan. Her job, a tough one tonight, trying to slow down this offense, which has hit 7 homers in the series. They scored 15 runs. Halajan making her second start of the season against this Smoke team. Last time she started against them was opening weekend, all the way back in late June. And again, has the ball in the circle tonight for the Monarchs. Now a look at the batting order for the Smoke. Janae Jefferson again hitting leadoff for the reigning champion franchise. Hitting second in the order, Silent Rain Espinoza, and then batting third is Jazz Hill. Hitters 4 through 6, Charlotte Eckles, Savannah Jaquish, and Samantha Shao. And the order rounded out by Jada Cody, Elizabeth Mason, and Anna Marie Bruni. All right, so into the box is Janae Jefferson. The Smoke wearing a different uniform set today. I've seen these before, different at least this weekend. There's the city nickname of Austin on the fronts and the player nicknames on the back. Always kind of fun seeing that as we see Jefferson into the box to face off against Sona Halajan. And this game officially underway. For the Smoke, a run rule victory last night, 9-0 in 5 innings. It's now 17 wins in a row, and during the winning streak, they've outscored the opposition by more than 100 runs. One ball, one strike.
It's been so impressive to see what this Texas Smoke offense has done throughout the season, and I keep wondering, will they run into a wall at some point? Will they hit a little lull in all of the home run action? But so far, they have yet to really have any difficulties.
And there, Jefferson beats out an infield single. Get that towards second baseman Kylie Sand. A great effort on the part of Sand, but Jefferson again, all kinds of speed, beats it out, and the leadoff runner is on for the 6th time for the Smoke in the series.
Kylie Sand doing everything she can, raging over to her backhand side. The throw's offline, but even if the throw's online, in my opinion, Jefferson's going to be safe there. Just too much speed out of the box.
So Jefferson with the hit, that is her 5th of the series. That'll bring up Silent Rain Espinoza. Interesting tonight, Espinoza defensively is going to play at shortstop.
We've seen Espinoza at so many different positions on the field. Last night, playing first base. We've seen her in the outfield. We've seen her at second base. And for me, Silent Rain Espinoza is just a testament to the statement that if you can hit, you're going to find a way on the field. As of last night, she ended her 7 games in a row with a home run. Still hit the ball, swung the bat really well, but didn't find one over the fence. But when you're that hot at the plate, it's hard for your coach to take you out. So over to shortstop it is today.
So even though Espinoza didn't homer last night, the Smoke did 4 times, 4 different players hitting home runs. Of the 7 they've hit in this series by 7 different players. To include Espinoza's homer on opening nights, opening night of the series, that's outside 3-1. And so now over the last 13 games for this team, 39 home runs. Higher math, that's 3 homers a game.
It's just unbelievable. No matter how we rephrase the stats of the offense, it still blows me away every time.
Full count to Espinoza, 3-2. A lot of talent in that dugout, a lot of depth, as Haley and I have talked about throughout the series. In the circle, in the lineup. Up to Sona Halajan to give her team a chance. Full count And Espinoza draws a walk. So the first two have reached. Kind of what we saw last night. Haley, the first two reached against Jaden Vickers, but Vickers was able to get out of the jam.
Yeah, almost a carbon copy of how the top of the first went last night. You're right. It was a double from Jefferson, a hit by pitch from Silent Rain Espinoza. And again, you know, when you're facing such a potent team with so much depth like the Smoke, every out, every pitch is critical. Really good effort by Emily Hott over there at first base, which is another player we've seen in a new position, usually an outfielder, tonight holding down first base for the Monarchs.
So we've seen some experimentation from these two teams. Defensively, not just tonight, but throughout the season, with Hott moving from the outfield to first base. Count 1 ball and 1 strike to Jazz Hill. So far, 2 for 6 this series. It has one of the 7 homers hit by the Smoke, came on Thursday. At one point last night, the Smoke hit back-to-back-to-back home runs. That's not the first time that's happened with this team this year.
Something that's probably worth noting with all the different positions we've seen a lot of these athletes play, it's just another testament to, again, one, if you can hit, you can find a spot on the field, but also these athletes are not just one position players. They can play infield, outfield. They do their job very well no matter where they're placed. They understand the game. So if you're a young athlete listening to this, don't get too committed on just one position. Understand all different components of the game, how the infield works, how the outfield works. It's going to make you a better player, but it's also going to give you more opportunities to get on the field.
After the wild pitch, it's 3-1 to Hill. Espinoza at second now and Jefferson at third. Nobody out in the top of the first, game just underway. That's fouled away for strike 2.
Even though Halajan now has a base open, you don't want to just put Jazz Hill on here because you've got Charlotte Eckles, Savannah Jakewis, Samantha Shao. It doesn't get any easier as you go down the lineup.
And now the full count. Swung on. Here's a pop-up in shallow center, and over the shoulder, Flaherty makes the catch. Well, how about that for the Monarchs shortstop? That'll keep Jefferson at third base, and that's good for the inning's first out.
You simply cannot overstate how difficult a catch like this is to make. Flaherty has to run a long ways to catch this, does it perfectly. You saw Janae Jefferson there. Didn't think that that was going to be caught, so she wasn't tagging, kind of unable to advance on the play, even though Flaherty was going away from her with her back turned. We've seen Flaherty make so many incredible plays with backhands, fielding balls behind second base, picking balls from her knees and throwing out lead runners. Now she's adding a basket catch to the mix.
You were telling me at some point last night during a commercial break about building a fantasy team in terms of defense. Your pick at shortstop would be Devin Flaherty.
100%. And even though she hasn't had the most productive season at the plate for the Monarchs, plays like that basket catch, the backhand pick we saw from her knees last night, those change the game. And at such a critical position like shortstop, you need someone that's going to remain calm in those moments and not only make the routine plays, but every now and then make a top 10 play for you too, which I'd argue Flaherty has done more than once throughout this season and even this series.
If you continue building that team, I think you have a really tough choice to make a third. If you're talking about, you know, both offense and defense, Charlotte Eckles, Sarah Bannerford, 2 great candidates for that position.
And that doesn't even include the other third baseman on the 2 other teams in this league. There's just so much depth in the WPF across the board. Personally, knowing Sarah Vanderford, I had the privilege to play with her in college. It'd be really hard for me to not pick my former teammate. But that's not to take away from Charlotte Eckles, and the adjustments she made last night were so impressive. Definitely a veteran of the game, had a phenomenal career for Florida. Can I take them both?
Why not? There needs to be a DP, right, in that team. Now, catcher, you know Taylor Ellsworth really well from Hub City.
That is true. I do have to pick my girl Taylor on that one. Has a cannon behind the plate. Has a ton of pro experience as well. Has played overseas in Japan.
Full count, and that's another walk. So Eckles was on to load him up. Still just 1 out. So an infield base hit. Walks to Espinoza and Eckles. And here comes Savannah Jakewish.
I have to ask you now on the flip side, if you had to pick one player on the field right now for your fantasy team, who's your #1 pick?
The #1 pick right now. Ooh. I'd be tempted to go with Eckles. Although I think Silent Rain Espinoza, was a really good choice there as well. Espinoza has shown great power, versatility, in the infield, has come through in clutch situations as well. Had a game-tying hit in the 7th inning against this Monarch team opening weekend. Eckles has a very similar resume. She had the walk-off in that game all the way in the 13th inning. We've seen her power and her defense at third. I'm between those two.
Yeah, really good choices. Espinoza's kind of like a dark horse. I feel like you could put her anywhere on the field and she'd give you a chance.
Wild pitch to the backstop, play at the plate, not coming. Jefferson back to third base, and what a job there by Kelly Torres. That ball was so wild, it ricocheted off the padding so hard, bounced right back to Torres, and that kind of kept Jefferson from scoring to keep this game 0-0.
Yeah, Jefferson breaks immediately when she sees the ball gets away, but then realizes that she's not going to be able to be safe at home. If Torres would have thrown that to second, she would have caught Silent Rain Espinoza in a rundown, because Espinoza thought there's no way that Jefferson's not scoring on that off the bat. Fortunate break for the Monarchs to keep everyone right where they're at.
All right, 3-1 now. Halajan, you figure, has to throw a strike, and Jaquish knows that. And there it is, a fly ball to right, and that's going to drop in for a hit, and it gets away from Brookshire. Jefferson's going to score. Here comes Espinoza, and it's 2-0. It's a smoke. Strike first.
You said it, Brant. 3-1, hitters count. Jaquish knew that Halajan had to come to her. Looks like Jaquish actually gets a little bit jammed on this. Lifts it out towards Brookshire and right. Unable to get there on her feet. Tries to go to the sliding catch. I'd like to see her try to keep that in front of her, even if she can't catch it in the air, to avoid that second run coming around to score.
So 2 runs in. Savannah Jaquish up to 3 RBI in the series now. And after Halajan visits with her infield, here comes Samantha Shao. Shao, one of the players that hit the back-to-back home runs last night. It went Jaquish, Shao, and Cody, the home runs. Starting in the outfield tonight, Shao was the starting pitcher for the Smoke in Thursday's win.
I'm just going to go on the record for everyone. Shao's home run last night, furthest hit ball I think I've ever seen.
By the way, we forgot to mention her as a potential top overall fantasy pick.
Good point.
Right?
And she can pitch.
She can pitch, and she's got a great bat as well. 1 ball, no strikes, ground ball that's going to get through for a hit. Here comes Eckles, and she's going to score standing. Shao delivers, and now it's 3-0, Smoke on top.
Samantha Shao getting a pitch that she can drive. Another pitch low in the zone. Her home run last night was almost off her ankles. Here she is going after a low pitch again. Just hammers it through the 5-6 hole. Sarah Vanderford playing behind the bag at third base, tries to knock it down, but didn't have a chance, and Eckles able to trot home easily.
Jada Cody steps in and looks at ball 1 up. Thought it was so important tonight for the Monarchs to get out to a good start, maybe get that early lead, create some pressure against the Smoke, but that's an easier task that's said than done.
This is not the start that you want if you're the Texas Monarchs here. Last night, they really struggled offensively at the plate to make adjustments against Autumn Peace. Peace kept them off balance all night long with their changeup, like we talked about in the open, but it just felt like the Monarchs had no plan at the plate to me. They weren't sure if they wanted to hit the hard stuff, attack the inside part of the plate, the outside part of the plate, try to take away the changeup, and they just never got anything going offensively. So now last night you struggled at the plate. You didn't make any adjustments, and now you have your back against the wall down 3-0 before you ever even came up to bat.
Fielder's choice as Cody reaches first base. That'll erase Shao, the base pass. 2 outs now in the inning. And now the 8th batter of the first comes up, Elizabeth Mason. Haven't seen Mason yet of the series. From Tampa, Florida. Played her college softball at Florida State. Won a national championship with the Seminoles back in 2018. A huge part of that run 6 years ago in Oklahoma City. Nothing in one. That's in there for a strike. 0-2.
Florida State is one of those programs for me that I always enjoyed watching, no matter who the superstars were, what kind of regular season they had. I just always felt like watching them in the postseason, they had a chance. You could just tell that the culture that they had, camaraderie with their teammates, they never felt like they were out of it. And I even remember the year they lost their first game, fought their way all the way back through the losers bracket, I believe, to win the national championship. They played every single game they could have played in that tournament and walked away with it all.
Seminoles also got close to winning another in 2021. Mason on that team as well, but ran into the buzzsaw that has become Oklahoma.
I think that's putting it lightly, as the buzzsaw of Oklahoma.
On the ground to the right side, handled by Kylie Sand, and the Smoke will settle for 3 runs in the first inning. The big hit in the first, courtesy of Savannah Jaquish, a 2-run double, as the Smoke strike for 3 runs in the top of the first inning. What else is new for this team? Running a 17-game winning streak, they have the early lead and the momentum here in Game 3. Monarchs batting for the first time when we come back. In the circle tonight for the Smoke is a 2024 ACC Pitcher of the Year, Jayla Wright from Charlotte, North Carolina. With the Blue Devils this season, went 19-3, ERA of 1.50, nearly 200 strikeouts and more than 150 innings worked. And she gets a start tonight for the Smoke against the Monarchs, and their lineup looks like this. Kylie Sand leads things off, followed by Devin Flaherty and Sarah Baniford. Then it goes Susie Brookshire, Kelly Torres, Leywood Day, and it wraps up with Emily Hott, Sarah Fessler, and Jenna Keene. And Wright takes a circle with a 3-0 lead. Offense striking for 3 runs in the top of the first. The big hit, Savannah Jaquish, a 2-run double. And again, this pitching staff with the Smoke all year long has not really faced a lot of pressure or high leverage situations.
Well, when you have an offense that's just absolutely throttling whoever's on the other side of the field, it's very comfortable to pitch in the circle. You don't have to be perfect, give up a solo shot here and there. It's not like the Smoke isn't going to put up runs. We know that for a fact. So as a pitcher, if I'm on the Texas Smoke, I feel really good about just going right at people and forcing hitters to beat my best stuff in the circle.
Ahead against Sand, 0-2, but a tough series so far for the former Scarlet Knight, Kylie Sand. 0 for 6. Got to run the count to 1-2. Sand this year at Rutgers, a .418 hitter in her final college season. Set a program record, scoring 62 times in 2024. One of the best offensive players in Rutgers' history. Ground ball to the right side. Jefferson charges with a glove flip. It's not in time. So Sanders off for the first time in the series with the hits. Leadoff base hit starts today for the Monarchs.
Jayla Wright has so much downspin in the circle. Going to see a heavy dose of drop balls against these Monarchs. Kylie Sand just gets a little bit on this one. Jefferson doing everything she can to try to glove flip it over there in time. Kylie Sand running very well out of the left-hander batter's box down the line, and now the Monarchs have a leadoff on.
Interesting choice by Candace Fitton-Bachbrader, the Monarchs head coach, to move Flaherty up in the order. Flaherty had been batting ninth for a good chunk of the season, but batting second today.
We saw Devin Flaherty just flash a short game there on the 0-0 count. I'm wondering if that's part of the reason why Flaherty was moved up. Last night we talked about it. Monarchs didn't make any adjustments. They didn't really put a lot of runners in motion or go to the short game much. So when you're struggling offensively, a lot of times you'll see coaches move things around to try to get more speed up at the top of the lineup, try to manufacture some more runs. The smoke is going to score, we know that, and they're likely going to score a lot of runs. So you have to be able to scratch and claw your way through this game. You can't let a 4-0, 5-0 lead get out of hand, because you got to keep it close. You got to find ways to scratch one or two here and answer back.
And why not make lineup changes? The way the lineup has been constructed the past couple of days, it hasn't worked. You know, you look at the offensive numbers so far, and just 4 hits through 2 games, only 1 yesterday.
Yeah, very good point. You have to give athletes a chance to make adjustments, and if you're not making adjustments at the plate, it's the coach's job to do something different, put their team in the best position to win.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Flaherty. Sarah Vanderford awaits on deck. Vanderford had the lone hit last night. There's a fly ball to the left, and the Park's going to hold this shy of the warning track. Jazz Hill tracks it down for the inning's first out.
Good job by Flaherty to get something elevated from Jayla Wright. Talked about how much downspin she has. I was so excited to see Jayla Wright get the start tonight because I love watching her pitch. She locates everything so well, has such late, sharp movement. And a lot of times when we've seen her throw earlier in the season, it's been ground ball after ground ball after ground ball. So to see Flaherty elevate something there tells me that the Monarchs have a plan. They understand what Wright's trying to do to them and working to start to make those adjustments earlier on.
Sarah Vanderford behind of the count, 0-1. Vandy's had a productive series so far despite the team's struggles. She's 2 for 5. Homer to the opener on Thursday. For a Monarch team now 8-13 on the year. Mired at a 7-game losing streak. However, with Coastal Bend getting swept in a doubleheader yesterday against Hub City, the Monarchs are back into a tie with the title away for second in the standings. Both teams 8-13, both 12 back of the 20-1 Texas Smoke. And coming in last, Hub City at 6-15, but the Adelitas have been competitive. Again, they won 2 games last night. The doubleheader, the series of doubleheaders here a couple of weeks ago, they split their 4 games against the Monarchs.
The Adelitas really struggled early in the summer, but it just feels like the last 2 weeks they've really turned it on and found a way to, like you said, be more competitive, not just be an easy gimme game for their opponents.
So that series between Hub City and Coastal Bend, they didn't play on Thursday, played a doubleheader yesterday, and typically the home park for the tidal wave is in Robstown, but they're playing at Toloso this weekend. One of the high schools in that area, but there's an advantage there. That field has artificial turf with it, whereas opposed to the one at Robstown was kind of a natural grass surface. And the players these days are much more accustomed to playing on turf.
Yeah, especially in the world of softball, having to play on a grass surface infield would be very challenging or just different. It's not something that I've never done as a player, so that would definitely be an adjustment. I would much rather prefer dirt first, of course,
Yep.
or turf. Turf is really nice because you have typically very predictable hops. So it might play a little different speed-wise than dirt, but there's not going to be a random rock out there that's going to majorly deflect the path of the ball. Maybe there is sometimes, but typically on turf, it's much more predictable.
About to say, there's a rock out there. That would lead us to a few questions. Sharp grounder right back to right. One haps to throw to second for the force play. Back to first, not in time. But that's good for the second out. Good awareness there by Jayla Wright. That'll erase Kylie Sand and bring her back into the dugout.
Good job by Wright understanding the situation, but she just kind of palms this straight into the ground. Really athletic play by Espinoza over at short. Had to catch it, then step on second base. If Wright makes a strong throw there, it's an easy 1-6-3 double play.
And there was Silent Rain Espinoza playing shortstop, covering the bag and doing her job, playing in a new position, at least as far as this series goes. And now she fields a grounder, and Espinoza doing just fine at shortstop. So a leadoff base hit for the Monarchs, but no run score. With that one inning in the books, we head to the seconds. Smoke on top of the Monarchs, 3-0. We're back in San Marcos after this. Three 0 Smoke on top. Her team playing for its 18th win in a row for head coach Kat Tarvin. After this weekend series against the Monarchs, the Smoke are back on the road to face Hub City next week. They just swept a 4-game series from the Adelitas last week in Lubbock. But right now, the business at hand, the Monarchs up in this series 2-0 and already on top here in game 3, 3-0. Inning starts with Anna Marie Bruni batting. And fouls off the first pitch against Halajan. The fall behind 0-1. So again, the player nicknames on the back for Anne-Marie Bruni, pretty simple. The initials, A and B.
I like it. What would your nickname be if you had a nickname on the back of your broadcast jersey?
Easily, B-Dog. Dog spelled D-A-W-G.
The only way to spell it
Right.
in the world of sports.
Exactly. I knew you were going to ask me that question, and I knew my answer before you asked it.
I love it. Love that you're prepared.
Now, as someone who actually played the game, what would your nickname be in the back of your jersey?
It would either be my childhood nickname growing up, which my dad gave me, which was Sluggo. Don't know where it came from. Just, dads being dads, pulling it out. Or probably Hey McKay would be my nickname from college. The Sluggo nickname didn't really last past about 12U, except for in the eyes of my dad, which is totally fine. But yeah, probably Hey McKay is what I really remember.
Hey McKay, I like that. Did you ever get Haley Mack?
No, believe it or not, I never really had Mac. In travel ball, I played with a McKinsey, so she was Mac.
Okay.
But yeah, surprisingly, I was never Mac. It was just a shortened version of Haley.
Yeah, if you would
or
ask,
the combined, both. first name and last name.
If you were to ask me what I thought your nickname would have been, that's what I would have said, Haley Mack.
Yeah, it's a very obvious guess, but believe it or not, it never happened. When I was playing at Texas State, there was one season we had 2 Kayleys, 2 Haleys, and a Bailey. So I was always Haley McKay in the eyes of Coach Woodard because we had to distinguish us all somehow.
2-2 to Bruni. That ball smacked right off the glove of Halajan, and Bruni's going to reach. But kind of a scary moment there for Halajan. That ball came scorching off the bat. Thankfully, she's okay, and Bruni's now at first to start the inning.
Yeah, very scary moment here. Halajan doing a good job of having her glove in that defense position. I don't even know if she saw that ball come right back at her, more of just a reaction to get her glove on it. Looks like she's okay. Gonna be able to continue on. So scary as a pitcher. Those balls that come right back at you, even if it's lower at your shins or your knees, you just have hardly any time to get out of the way.
Well, the control issues continue for Halajan. That's her 3rd wild pitch already. And Bruni now finds herself at second base. A clean uniform look today for Anna Marie Bruni. Red batting gloves and those bright red New Balance shoes.
I love the color coordination, little sandwich theory going on there.
We commented last night about Sarah Vanifer with that stormtrooper-like look for the Monarchs, and there you see it.
Jefferson's got the little sandwich going on too, the matching white gloves and the white cleats.
Very stylish team. The smoke, that's in there for a strike, 2-1.
Also a very unique color scheme. We were talking about this before the broadcast. You've got black, gray, neon green, red. I think I got them all.
See, I'm still not sure if that's neon green or neon yellow, so I'm just going with neon.
That's fair. That's fair.
Several different uniform combos for the Smoke this year. And we've seen new uniforms introduced for the other teams throughout the season as Jefferson beats out an infield base hit. Little bunt single there for Jefferson. She's off for the 2nd time. What a tough out she has been in the series. Jefferson is now 6 for 10 in 3 games against the Monarchs. And now 2 on, runners in the corners, and nobody out.
Janae Jefferson is just one of the most versatile athletes I've seen in our sport. Last night had 2 doubles, absolutely hammered the ball. Tonight she's on with an infield single and then a bunt single. She just is able to show so late in terms of the short game. And that's so difficult to defend as an infielder. You have to respect her power, but you also don't want to get beat in front because she has so much speed and she can show short games so late. She'll even run through the box at times. And it just feels like when Janae Jefferson is hot, she can beat you however she chooses.
There is some activity in the Monarchs bullpen right now, but a tough start here for Halajan. It looks like Aspen Wesley getting loose, and Wesley had a really solid start for the Monarchs in the opener on Thursday. 5 innings, only gave up a single earned run. Kept her team in the game until the Smoke pulled away late and gets Slaughter back out of the bullpen. All right, so here we go. Espinoza at the plates, 2 on and nobody out.
Given some of the control issues and how many hard hit balls we've seen, I would be surprised, unless Halajan's able to get out of this inning quickly, if we see her in this game for an extended period of time.
And Jefferson takes off for second. She's there without a throw. You saw the throw go to third instead. But Bruni staying put. And so now second and third, nobody out. First base open for Espinoza. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Monarchs infield is playing in tight, trying to cut down Bruni on a ball in the dirt.
Talked about the standings earlier. There has been discussion about a playoff format. There will be a postseason, obviously, at the end of the regular season. The proposed format would be single elimination for the first round and then a best of 3 in the championship round. And so you got 3 teams battling right now for the second and third spots. There's a tie for second between the Monarchs and Tidal Wave. Each team 8-13. The Adelitas only 2 games back, 6-15. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Espinoza swing and a miss. First strikeout tonight for Halajan and a huge first out in this inning.
A little bit of a rare, hesitant swing off of the bat of Silent Rain Espinoza. Usually looks so confident and in control in the box. Just looks like she got fooled here on this screwball from Halajan. Couldn't catch up to it. Huge out right there for the Monarchs with 2 on and nobody out.
Cody with a swing and a pop-up. And to center. Keene makes a catch. Bruni bluffs coming home. The throw is on target to Torres. And so Halajan, after allowing the first 2 to reach, a strikeout and a flyout. And still nobody has scored.
Great job defensively by Jenna Keene and Kelly Torres, both there. Anna Marie Bruni over at third bluffed really hard that she was going to go, and I thought she was going all the way for sure. Great job by Kelly Torres behind the plate to corral that throw, not let it get away to the backstop. 2 really huge outs in a tough spot for Halajan.
Strike 1 to Charlotte Eckles, who walked earlier in the game. Now, again, the Smoke have been really good with 2 outs in the series, 9 for 22 through the first 2 games. 0-1 to Eckles. Halajan misses away. 1 ball, 1 strike. So bring up the standings, and you know if that is in fact the format, single elimination would be the top seed versus the 4 seed, and the 2 versus the 3. That means, you know, those 3 teams are fighting to stay out of the 4 spot to avoid facing the Smoke, I would think, in the first round.
100%. We know at this point the Smoke is going to be the #1 seed, just mathematically. It's impossible for anyone else to catch them, especially with how they're playing right now. But then, to your point, it's all about how can you avoid playing the Smoke as much as possible. And if it is single elimination and the 4 seed gets to play the 1 seed, all it takes is 1 game. You don't have to beat them twice. You just got to find a way to knock them out. So no matter how the postseason shakes out, everybody's going to have a chance. So there's still something to play for, whether you're the 1 seed like the Smoke or you're battling it out at the bottom like the Adelitas are. We've talked about how competitive they've been. There's no reason why any of the 4 teams couldn't make it into that final series if that's the format that it ends up being.
Full count to Eckles. Waiting on deck, Savannah Jaquish. A chance for Halajan to get out of the jam here. Second and third, 2 outs. And Eckles draws her second walk of the day. And so that loads them up for Savannah Jaquish, who earlier had a 2-run double. And a big RBI chance here again for Jaquish as Kat Tarvin comes out. She'll make a base running change here. Or actually, no, she's making a change at the plate. Going to call Jaquish back and have Morgan Howe hit in her place. Howe, so far hitless in the series, steps up, falls behind 0-1.
Interesting choice here from head coach Kat Tarvin. Jaquish did deliver a 2 RBI single in the books. It wasn't an incredible piece of contact, did get a little bit jammed, but got the job done nonetheless, and Jaquish swung the bat well last night. However, we've seen Morgan Howe absolutely demolish balls at the plate, so it's not like Morgan Howe can't get the job done here in this situation either.
Early advantage for Halajan, 0-1. On the ground, Sand from second, and the Smoke lead the bases loaded. So Halajan out of trouble in the second inning. 3 reach, but nobody scores, and with that we go to the bottom of the second inning. Maybe the Monarchs building some momentum. They trail 3-0 and coming to bat when we return. A really big moment for Candace Fenton Bachrader's team moments ago, Haley. Sona Halajan, the pitcher, allowed the first two batters to reach, eventually bases loaded, but able to get out of the jam unscathed, keeping this a 3-run game.
Really impressive performance by Halajan in the top of the second. We've talked all season long about how effective the Smoke has been with 2 outs, and it's super rare that we've seen them get the leadoff 2 on with also some wild pitches in there, and then Halajan just bared down and found a way to get 3 outs. Good job defensively, having her back on an attempted sac fly that was corralled behind the plate by Torres. Good job all the way around defensively for the Monarchs.
Leading off the inning at the plate, Kelly Torres should be followed by Laywood Day and Emily Hott here in the second inning in a 3-0 game. Fouled away, 1 ball and 1 strike. Torres so far in the series 0 for 5 for the season, batting just 111 against Smoke pitching. Again, these two teams met opening weekend. Series at the Smoke won 3-1. Monarchs handed this team its only loss of the year, the final game of that series. Count now runs to 2 balls and a strike.
While the Smoke is up 3-0, it doesn't seem like Jayla Wright in this circle is quite as sharp as we've seen her in the past. Usually she's so dialed in with a ton of late break on her downspin. Seen a lot more pitches like that earlier on, usually up to this point. But some of her misses have been pretty wide. So if I'm a hitter in this Monarchs lineup, I'm looking for something that's elevated above my knees and over the heart of the plate. Because anything else that starts below your knees or that's off the plate is never going to be a strike.
On the ground, Eckles, long throw and 1 out here in the second inning. You can see the nickname she's going with, Char, shortening up her first name, Charla. You know, for Jayla Wright, her long hair covers her nickname. But you can see some of it back there. Slayla is what her teammates call her. Has had that nickname since her time at starting at Duke.
I want a cheat sheet of everyone's nicknames and all the stories behind them. Because that's the great thing about nicknames, right? Sometimes they make no sense on paper, but then when you hear the story, it's hilarious. So it's a very obvious choice for a nickname.
Swing and a miss by Laywood Day, 0-1. You know, all the talk about the nicknames on the back of the jerseys, you also notice from time to time, you'll see messages written on gloves. And Wright has one on hers. The colors, the Duke colors, kind of gray and blue. You look really closely, you'll see the letters PTB on her glove. On the thumb side of her glove, it's a message to herself. Stands for pause, think, breathe.
I love that so much, especially as a pitcher. There's times in this game where all the eyes are on you, you're in command, and it can be really easy to make the moment too big. Sometimes all you need is just that little reminder, and you see Jayla Wright with a very unique routine, the way she sticks her glove arm out to the left side. Routines are so important in this sport, and to have that visual reminder to slow the game down is so important as a pitcher. You also see athletes sometimes have just really outrageous, funny sayings on their gloves. Depends what kind of player you are. Some people need that reminder to focus, and others need that reminder to just put the game in perspective.
2-2. Day with a drive out to left, but drove it right into the glove of Jazz Hill. A good swing, but an outs. 2 up and 2 down here in the second.
Good piece of hitting by Laywood Day. We've seen several Monarch hitters so far elevate the ball off of Jayla Wright, which is something that Jayla Wright doesn't induce a lot of. Flyouts, line drives. She really relies on her defense with the downspin. So you can tell these Monarch hitters are trying to make adjustments, trying to take that drop ball out of her hand.
Emily Hott batting with the bases empty and 2 down. So Jayla Wright, a really impressive career at Duke. 44-12 her record in 3 seasons, ERA of 2, but It wasn't always easy. You're in the middle of her Duke career. Put a lot of pressure on herself. Here's a ground ball to short, backed up by Espinoza. And a 1-2-3 second inning. We'll talk more about that right story a little bit later in the broadcast. 2 innings have expired. We go to the third. Jalen Wright of the Smoke on top of the Monarchs. 3-0. We're back in San Marcos after this. And we're back here at Bobcat Softball Stadium, where the Texas Smoke lead the Texas Monarchs 3-0 heading into the top of the third inning. Samantha Shao hit bats leadoff here for the Smoke. We'll also see Jada Cody and Elizabeth Mason here in the third inning. One ball, one strike to Samantha Shao. Had an RBI base hit at her first at bat.
If Holojon can pick up a 1-2-3 inning here, turn the lineup back over for the Monarchs with 8-9-1 coming up, might give the Monarchs some life, some momentum.
Well, the second week of the season, the Monarchs swept Hub City in a 4-game series. Were riding some momentum early part of the year. They had also just taken a game from the Smoke, so a 5-game winning streak for them at the time after starting the year 0-3. But since then, they had dropped 10 of the last 13 games. And down to this series 0-2, trailing in the game 3-0 as Shao was on to start the inning. Leadoff batters reach for the Smoke in every frame so far. And Cody takes a ball inside.
You know, aside from the Smoke, it really feels like pitching has been kind of the kryptonite across the board for the other 3 teams in the league. It's kind of a rare occurrence to see a really strong pitcher's performance from start to finish. And that's not to say pitchers haven't had success in this league, because obviously there's been some close games and some competitive games, but it just doesn't really feel like an ace has emerged across the other 3 teams in the league. Even the Smoke, they have so much depth. I wouldn't say they have an ace of their staff either, but pitching has definitely been the sharpest for the Texas Smoke.
I think if you were to take some of the Smoke pitchers and disperse them amongst the league, that pitcher would become the ace of those staffs.
I agree. It just feels like, to me, watching all 4 teams in the league, when you watch the Smoke pitch, it's very much pitchers in command. When you watch anyone else pitch, whether it's against the Smoke or against the Coastal Bend Tidal Wave or the Adelitas, it feels very much like the offense is in command. And that's a combination of falling behind in counts, leaving balls over the heart of the plate, leaving pitches elevated in the zone, even if they're on the corners. The hitters are too good in this league. You just can't do that. You can't give away free passes. Can't give up wild pitches. And that's not to say that every pitcher's had control issues, but there hasn't been a lot of weak contact. It's if the ball's put in play, it's put in play pretty hard.
Full count to Cody. That ball smacked towards the gap in right center. That's going to go down for a base hit. Shell on her way to third is going to stop there. Cody slides to the second with a double. And yet again, the first two have reached for the Smoke to start an inning.
Jada Cody battled in this at-bat, worked the count, got another pitch over the heart of the plate again and just hammered it. That ball got all the way to the wall in a hurry. Sam Shao able to motor around to third. Looks like that's going to be it for Halajan.
And Tyler Guttleson, the pitching coach, out there yet again.
Might just be a conversation after all. Don't see anyone coming in from the bullpen.
And now our plate umpire, Scott Mayer, coming out to break up the meeting. Yeah, no change coming right now. At least not yet. So Halajan staying in for the time being. Did pull off the Houdini trick and got out of this situation unscathed in the seconds, but playing with fire against this lineup, not a wise choice here. So, runner second to third, nobody out, brings up Elizabeth Mason.
If I had to guess, that conversation in the circle was, how do we get Elizabeth Mason and Anna Marie Bruni out before we turn this thing back over to the top of the order? Jefferson has been so effective with her speed tonight. Last night used her power. We know what Silent Rain Espinoza can do. We've seen it all series long and all season long.
Last pitch fell back. It's 1-1 to Mason. 0 for 1 of this game. On the ground, that is a foul ball. No play. Vanderford, though, would have made it. So kind of a tough break there for the Monarchs. That stays fair. The run doesn't score, and you get an out at first base.
That was a close play. I thought real time that could have easily been called a fair ball. But it's important to note it's not where the athlete's body is. It's where the ball is. And it was taking Vanderford's glove.
Fly ball to right, and that is gone. Another opposite field home run of the series for the Smoke. This one off the bat of Elizabeth Mason. Doubles the lead is 6-0.
You want to talk about an unfortunate break for the Monarchs. So close to being out number one on a ground ball in the inning. But Elizabeth Mason just smashes this ball opposite field. We've seen this all series long. The Smoke just letting the ball travel so deep in the zone, just hammering it out over the right field wall.
Into the Smoke's bullpen, and that's going to be it for Halajan. The first homer of the night for the Smoke. That's now their 8th of the series. And that's going to bring in Alexa DeFeo here for Halajan. Well, you go back to the depth of this lineup, navigating through it, hitters 1 through 9, and it's the bottom part of the order coming through right now, Haley. There's just no holes there to be found for the opposition.
And this is where working from ahead, whether it's within the at-bat or at the start of the inning, putting runners on and then having to face anyone in this Smoke lineup with runners in scoring position is it's just dangerous. There's no other way to put it. There are no holes. 1 through 9, everyone can do damage. In not just balls over the fence, but they have speed, they have power. Just such a complete team from the smoke.
Final line tonight for Sona Halajan goes 2 1/3 innings, 6 earned runs off 7 hits, 1 strikeout and 4 walks. Now gives the ball up to Alexa DeFeo, making her second appearance in as many days. Came out of the bullpen last night after Jaden Vickers went 4 innings. DeFeo from Akron, Ohio, and played for her hometown program of Akron. Final year as a Zip, 2023. That year set a career high in strikeouts with 94. And went to the same high school as LeBron James in Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary's.
I'm sure she gets that a lot. Oh, you went to the same high school as LeBron James?
Yes. Or maybe she counters back with, no, LeBron James went to the same high school as me.
If that doesn't tell you life's all about perspective, I don't know what does. LeBron James got to be a torchbearer for the Paris Olympic Games as well.
Team USA has yet to play, the men's team. There have been a few men's games played today. Team Canada earlier playing in a really tight game against Greece, the Canadians winning, and Brazil and France played earlier, and France won that game. They're the de facto home team in the Olympics this year, playing in Paris. 1 ball, 1 strike to Anna Marie Bruni.
Have you ever been to Paris?
I have not. Have you?
No. It's on my list, though. I would have loved to have gone for the Olympics, but it's just a little pricey, as you can probably imagine.
Swing and a miss, 1 and 2. You did go to China recently?
I did.
Yeah.
I do have some coworkers that actually live in France. I work on a global team, which is a lot of fun and helps me keep up to date with everything going on in the world. And I can't wait to ask them about their experience. I don't know if they're going to any of the events, but just living in Paris at the time, I'm sure there's so much excitement in the city and so many Olympic pop-up things to do, whether you go to the events or not.
Fly ball to left, stays in the infield, and is snagged by Flaherty at shortstop for the first out.
Nice job by DeFeo coming in and finding an out right away after a lot of traffic in this game. With Sona Halajan in the circle, she did not inherit any base runners as a result of the home run and has settled in nicely here so far.
Back to the top of the order to Janae Jefferson, who's 2 for 2. Well, she's just punished Monarch pitching all year long. Here's a fly ball to the left. That's carrying, and Jefferson gives it a ride. Second home run of the inning for the Smoke. And now on top, 7-0.
And yet another opposite field home run. I mean, what can't Janae Jefferson do? We've seen doubles, we've seen short game. Now she said, all right, I'm just going to hit it over the fence. This team just never fails to impress me with how much depth they have. Janae Jefferson just taking this pitch from high to higher, elevates it from the letters out over the left field wall. Makes it look so easy.
And so for the team, 9 homers in the series, and yes, hit by 9 different players.
Who else wants to hit one at this rate?
Right, yes.
At this point, if I'm on the Smoke and I'm a hitter, I'm feeling left out. I'm feeling like I haven't done my job. I wonder if they have a competition between each other, you know?
Wouldn't
hey,
you?
we've hit, absolutely I
Yeah.
would. Hey, we've all hit one but you, it's your turn. Which is a dangerous game to play as a hitter because the more you try to hit a home run, the less likely you are to hit one. I promise you, I've tried.
Well, hitting home runs is like Oprah giving away cars in that dugout right now.
Seriously.
I'm so glad you got that reference,
I
by
did.
the way.
That's the best GIF of all time.
But I feel like it's borderline, you know, one that's aged out a little bit. Oprah giving away cars at her show.
Yeah. I feel like.
I think the actual thing happened like 15, 16 years ago now.
For sure.
Pop up in the infield. That was handled by Vanderford for the second out. 2 down to the third. 4 runs have scored in the inning off a couple of home runs, a 3-run shot by Elizabeth Mason, and a solo homer from Janae Jefferson.
That last pop-up induced by DeFeo was a little bit scary to watch. Just sometimes as infielders, when you're all calling the same ball at the same cadence, it's hard to hear each other. You could see Vanderford and Emily Hott both trying to call it off. Good job listening and communicating with each other. Make sure no one gets run into.
Jazil, the fly ball to center. Going to drift into right center. Coming in is Brookshire to make the catch to end the inning. But the Smoke homered twice in the third. Elizabeth Mason, a 3-run shot off of Sona Halajan, the first of the 2 homers. And then 2 batters later, it is Janae Jefferson's turn off of Alexa DeFeo. And for the Smoke, that's now 9 homers in the series from 9 different players. On top of the Monarchs, 7-0 here in San Marcos. And back out at Texas State's Bobcat Softball Stadium. See the Hott family in attendance here tonight. Emily Hott's family catching some WPF softball here at the home of the Texas State Bobcats. Other fans finding some shade on this 84-degree Saturday nights. Not too bad for July here in Central Texas. We go to the bottom of the third inning. 7-0 Smoke on top. Smoke hitting a couple of homers in the top of this inning, courtesy of Elizabeth Mason and Janae Jefferson. Leadoff batter, Sarah Fessler, batting for the first time tonight. We were talking about that story about Jayla Wright when she was at Duke. Said that she put a lot of weight on her shoulders at Duke after the departure of star pitcher Peyton St. George. She knew she had huge shoes to fill. Didn't know if she could quite live up to the expectations, but she did that and then some.
Yeah, that feeling of pressure is very common for a lot of athletes in this sport. And I would argue it's heightened for pitchers because there's so much pressure on them in the circle. The game starts and ends. With them, it's all about your composure, giving your team a chance to win. Yes, your defense has your back, of course, but it's easy to put a lot of pressure on yourself, especially when you play at such a high level. These athletes put so much time and energy into their craft, and they care so much about being successful for their team. A lot of times when you're putting that pressure on yourself, making the game harder than it already is, it can be tough to dig out of that slump. But Jayla Wright, phenomenal career. And important that she shined on her own, didn't try to be who Peyton St. George was, but just got to be Jayla Wright, and that was more than enough with the career she had at Duke, and clearly carrying over here to the WPF as well.
Two balls, 2 strikes facing Fessler. Leadoff batter here in the third inning in a 7-0 game. Swing and a miss, and that is the first strikeout tonight for Wrights, and 1 down here in the third.
Beautiful changeup from Jayla Wright here. Just pulls the string. See that downspin that replicates her drop ball. So hard to identify when Jayla Wright locates her drop ball and her changeup the way that she does. That speed differential is so hard to pick up, and once your barrel goes as a hitter, you've got nothing left to try to foul that pitch off.
You know, one of the rituals that Wright would have when she was at Duke on game days, as she would look inward to herself, she would write a love letter to herself before every game as the team gathered for its pregame meeting.
I love that. It's so important as an athlete to trust yourself and your confidence. You know, you got to run your own race, know your strengths. This game has so many different types of athletes. You don't have to be tall. You don't have to be the fastest. You don't have to throw the hardest in the circle. But if you're not building yourself up first as an athlete, it's going to be so easy for other people to tear you down or for you to get inside your head. We did an exercise actually during COVID when I was playing, when we couldn't do anything else as a team, that was all about your self-talk. And it was very eye-opening because we did this exercise basically where, you know, what would you say to yourself if you struck out with the bases loaded or you gave up a grand slam? And then on the flip side, what would you say if that happened to your teammate? And then the question became, would you ever say what you said to yourself to your teammate? And every single one of us said no. And it was just very eye-opening because we talk to ourselves like that without even thinking twice about it. But if you're not talking to yourself more than you're listening to yourself, you're doing yourself a disservice in this sport because it is so challenging and there is so much failure involved.
Back-to-back strikeouts for Wright here in the third inning. Keene goes down swinging. And now Wright through the lineup for the first time. We'll go back to the top of the order here to Kylie Sand following her second straight punch-out.
Another off-speed from Jayla Wright. Jenna Keene just unable to recognize that out of the hand. Was never a strike at all. But that's what great pitchers do when they get you chasing and they bait you to chase out of the zone. Jayla Wright doing her job very effectively here in the bottom of the third.
You hear a lot of athletes and really just people in everyday life, no matter what their profession is, talk about going to their happy place. For Wright, her happy place, her parents. And we call a simple phone conversation or meeting with her parents her Zen place.
I love that. It's so important to lean on your support system. And, you know, I coach on the side as well, high school girls. And one of the things that I always try to instill in them is softball is what you do. It's not who you are. But it can be so easy to get your identity wrapped up in, I'm an athlete, I have to perform. Like Jayla Wright said, I have to fill these shoes that my teammate left because look what she did. But at the end of the day, this is a game that we get to do as athletes. You don't have to play this. You get to do it. And, of course, it's you care and you want to do well, and it's important to care. And that little bit of pressure kind of keeps you on your toes. But at the end of the day, I always try to tell my athletes that pressure is a privilege, and it's a game that you get to do.
Sand beats out her second base hit of the day. The only Monarch player to tag Wright for a base hit. She's done so twice, and that will extend the inning. And now with 2 outs, it brings up Devin Flaherty.
Almost a carbon copy of her first base hit. Another ground ball over to Jefferson at second base. Kylie Sand just runs so well down the line. Jefferson was also playing very deep, almost on the turf line out there at second base. I would imagine if we see Sand come back up again, third time through the order, Jefferson's going to take a few steps in and try to not get beat in front for the third time.
Devin Flaherty batting for the second time. She's 0 for 1 and takes the ball outside. So a couple of former ACC players going at it right here. I have to assume not the first time Flaherty and Wright have faced off.
You know, we talked about Flaherty moving up in the order. I can't help but wonder if this former matchup doesn't play into that some. You know, Flaherty very familiar with Jayla Wright.
That's a good point. As Flaherty grounds out to shortstop to Espinoza, who has played solid in the 6-hole all game long. A 2-out base hit, all the damage the Monarchs can do. We have 3 innings in the books. Heading into the 4th, all smoke A team playing for its 18th straight win leads 7-0. All smoke as we enter the fourth inning, on top 7-0. And leading off here in the fourth is Charlotte Eckles, heart of the order, batting here for the Smoke. Scoring 3 runs in the first inning, 4 more in the third. And 2 more home runs for this power hitting lineup here tonight. Up to 9 homers in the series after hitting 15 home runs in the 4 games against Hub City last week. And again, speaking of Hub City, the Smoke travel to Lubbock to play the Adelitas again next week, their second series there in a 3-week stretch. Meanwhile, the Monarchs are back here next week to host Coastal Bend. First time the Monarchs will play the tidal wave in San Marcos, but they have met twice before in Robstown. And so far, it's been all tidal wave. They've won 6 of the 7 games in that series. There's a high fly to right. Does it stay fair? It does for a home run. Off the top of the scoreboard for Charlotte Eckles. 8-0 Smoke.
My goodness, Charlotte Eckles went up and got this. I didn't know if it was going to stay fair, but I knew it was definitely going to clear the wall. That pitch was almost at her eyeballs. Clearly the Smoke is having no fun at all. How could you not when you just smashed the ball out of the park all night long? That pitch is at her face. The fact that
she hits it poolside as well.
The fact she even kept it fair. First of all, the fact she hit it out and kept it fair, unbelievable. Her hand path to get there.
As you said, it was kind of eye level and now the outer half of the plate, and she pulled that for a home run.
I have no words. Charlotte Eckles might have just jumped her way into my fantasy team with that swing. That's all I can say.
And so Eckles becomes the first player in the series to homer more than once. Swing and a miss by Morgan Howe. Counts 0-2.
You know, if you're in the Smoke dugout and you're playing the home run game, you know Charlotte Eckles is like, all right, guys, now I have 2. Who's next? If I was in that dugout, I would be egging everyone on about home runs. Because why not? At this point, make it fun.
You got to start charting, if you're the Smoke, where the home runs are being hit and what targets can we aim for next. Top of the scoreboard, do you go after the Bobcat logo next? Can somebody get it off the American flagpole or the Texas flagpole? We've seen the top of the tool shed already hit. We've seen the top of the canopy hit out in left center.
A couple times.
What about, you know, get it actually in the air to the train tracks? It feels like that's possible right now with this team.
You know, you bring up a good point. With as well as the Smoke has played all season long, it can honestly get repetitive. You know, hey, we won 9-0. Hey, like, they're kind of running away with it at times, but to be able to find ways to keep it fun is so important.
DeFeo with a strikeout of Morgan Howe. First out of the inning, brings up Samantha Shao, and DeFeo drops in a strike. You know, we saw Wesley warming up earlier. I think if the game were a little bit tighter, then maybe Wesley would have been the choice here, but now the game's kind of gotten out of hand a bit. Maybe, and this is not to say anything bad about DeFeo whatsoever, but Wesley's has shown she can pitch well against this team. The Smoke did so opening weekend and also did so on Thursday. Maybe keep her in the tank for tomorrow's finale.
Yeah, you wonder if now that the game is 8-0 again in run rule territory, are the Monarchs just going to keep her in her back pocket? Looks like they've got someone else out in the bullpen now. Don't see Wesley down there. But if I'm head coach Candace Fenton-Bachbrader, I'm probably keeping Wesley in my back pocket for tomorrow. No reason to show her now at this point unless the Monarchs can get back in this game offensively.
1-2. That's low. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Shao. Shao has been on twice. An RBI base hit of the first, a walk in the third. And later scored to the homer hit by Mason. And that'll field the count 3-2.
I still can't stop thinking about Charlotte Eckles' home run. It's on a loop in my brain.
Swing and a miss, and DeFeo with her second straight strikeout. Big tip of the cap to DeFeo, gives up that monster homer to Eckles and then comes back with back-to-back punch-outs.
And to be fair, the home run that she gave up, that pitch was not a strike. So if you're a pitcher, you're not expecting someone to swing at that pitch, let alone drive it out of the yard. So if I'm a pitcher in that situation, you just tip your cap, you move on, and you go right back at the next hitters, which DeFeo has done.
So that fly out by Jada Cody ends the inning, but again, the Smoke have gone deep, doing so for the 3rd time today, for the 9th time in the series, and for the 2nd time this weekend for Charlotte Eckles. That moonshot again, playing in a loop in Haley's mind. We go to the bottom of the 4th inning. Smoke 8, Monarchs nothing. We have seen a lot of home runs in this ballpark in this WPF season, but this one certainly deserves another look. Charlotte Eckles in the top of the 4th inning with a monster shot off the top of the scoreboard and right, a ball that almost cleared the scoreboard, which almost reaches the foul pole. That's how far she hit that.
On a pitch that was nose level. I mean, if you're a pitcher and you see a home run like that, you're not even expecting the hitter to swing at that pitch, let alone hit it hard or almost clear the scoreboard. You just got to tip your cap as a pitcher, go right back at the next 3 hitters, which Alexa DeFeo was able to do. And the Monarchs now, it's up to their bats. They have to respond offensively to be able to extend this game.
Do you tip your cap or do you shake your head? What am I supposed to do as a pitcher?
Maybe both. You know, you're right. That can be very defeating as a pitcher, but in my mind, as an athlete, you know, just trying to stay positive, you give kudos where kudos is due and just move on.
You think about some of the home runs that the Smoke have hit. not just this series, but throughout the season, we've seen homers hit, the shoelaces. That one there again, eye level as Vanderford goes opposite way for a base hit. That bounces off the wall, and Vanderford is in his second base with a leadoff double.
Sarah Vanderford, known as the doubles queen during her time as a Texas State Bobcat, gets a pitch right down the heart of the plate, elevates it. Another easy stand-up double in the books for Sarah Vanderford.
One of the few hitters that, again, has had success this weekend for the Monarchs. Leadoff batter is on for the second time for the Monarchs here tonight. And for Vanderford, that is her third hit of the weekend. Brings up Brookshire. And she goes around for strike one. So again, the Olympics going on right now. Softball not a part of the 2024 games. It will return in 2028. Last time they were played, again 3 years ago, pushed back a year because of COVID. And Brookshire playing for the Mexican national team recorded the country's first ever hit in the Olympics that year.
That's just gave me goosebumps thinking about, one, being in the Olympics at all, but just being a part of history and all the work it takes. What an honor to represent your country on that stage.
And again, her name's forever in the record books for Team Mexico. First ever hit for the Mexican national team off the bat of Susie Brookshire.
So cool. You know she's going to remember that moment forever, too. I also love how the Olympics just brings together the world. There's so many things going on in everyone's life. Every part of the world is so different, so many different cultures, but that's what I love about sports. It just brings people together, and the joy of competing. I think culturally across the board, everyone understands, that gratification when you put in so much work and you get something. That's something you can really feel and translate and see in all these athletes competing around the world.
Swings and misses, and Brookshire going to run to first base. Didn't realize it until it was too late. And she is out on the strikeout from right, her third tonight, to the first out here in the bottom of the fourth inning.
Unfortunate break for Brookshire, not realizing that drop third strike got away from Jada Cody behind the plate. Because it got away so far to Jada Cody's glove side, if she takes off immediately, she probably has a good chance to be safe at first there. And then you have runners on the corners, chance to put some pressure on the smoke defensively, which hasn't happened much in the series at all.
Ground ball to the right side. That gets through the wickets of Jefferson. That's going to score Vanderford. And stopping at second base is Kelly Torres. And the Monarchs are on the board.
Very uncharacteristic mistake from Janae Jefferson. This ball just kind of eats her up. It's hit very hard, but you can see Jefferson is just trying to decide, do I go pick it on a short hop or do I try to back up and make it a longer hop? Unfortunately, gets caught in the middle. Vanderford able to score easily. And Torres finds herself standing on second base. Thought about third, but decided to hold up at second.
Scored as an error against Jefferson. And again, she winds up, Torres does, at seconds. And you can't help but think back to Brookshire. Again, if she was aware that the ball had gotten that far to the backstop, she probably gets on base. Maybe that scores 2 runs.
Well, you take it a step further, Monarchs would have been in a first and third situation. Perhaps Brookshire's running on the play, then she definitely would have scored from first, especially if she's in motion. But the fact that Samantha Schau out and right wasn't able to cut it off, Brookshire gets a good jump. You're right, she probably does score, and then you've got an 8-2 ball game.
One ball, no strikes to Laywood Day. Takes a pitch on the inner half for strike one. Day 0 for 1 of the game. Player from Fairfield, California. Didn't play the first 2 games of the series. For the Co-Big Sky Player of the Year this year, representing Sacramento State.
Day hit the ball really hard in her last at bat, lined out to left field. Swinging the bat well tonight.
Hit it kind of hard there, too. A sharp foul ball got back to Cody. Rare you see the pitcher come to the catcher to talk. Wright just came in to make sure that Cody's okay.
It's a good point. So a lot of times you see the flip side, the catcher is going out, talk to the pitcher, settle them down. But I like to see the camaraderie go the other way, checking on your teammates. Those relationships are so important on the field, not only understanding and communicating about the play, but what does your teammate need in that situation? Do they want you to come talk to them and settle them down? Do they want to be left alone? Got to know who they are as people.
Day strikes out. That's 4 in the game now for Jayla Wright. 2 in the inning. But now with 2 outs, here comes Emily Hott with a runner at second base and a run in for the Monarchs here in the 4th. Again, the Monarchs were shut out in the 5-inning run rule loss last night. Scored 3 runs in the opener on Thursday. A game the Smoke won 6-3. Smoke have not lost a game in more than a month. June 23rd, only loss of the season came to the Monarchs on opening weekend. Swing and a miss. 1 ball and 1 strike to Emily Hott.
You know, talked about the Olympics. The other thing that's on right now that's been a lot of fun to watch is the Little League World Series.
Yeah.
I always love seeing kids just enjoying the game. It always kind of put things in perspective for me when I was still playing, to see the joy they have, and just kind of takes you back. It's very nostalgic to watch.
One of our broadcast analysts for the coverage we provide on Texas State's ESPN Plus coverage is Keith Moreland, and Keith actually covers some of the Little League World Series for ESPN.
I love that. I would love the opportunity to do that. It's so fun to see the nicknames they give each other, like we were talking about earlier. It's one of the reasons I love this fact that the Smoke has the nicknames on their jersey. It just keeps the game fun. Reminds you why you're still doing it.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, they interview the kids and put the interview on camera. You know, what are your 2 biggest hobbies? I think one kid said video games and hitting bombs.
Yes.
Yeah.
I still remember the I'm Big Al and I hit dingers, you know, these just
Right.
iconic
Yeah.
sports moments of just kids being kids.
I believe Keith is in Waco covering that regional right now. That's in the dirt, and Hott's going to draw a 2-out walk. First free pass that Wright has given up. That puts 2 on with 2 away. That'll bring up Sarah Fessler.
Left fielder, Sarah Fessler.
And a quick chat here with the members of the infield. And the catcher, Jada Cody, talking to Jayla Wright. Been a rather busy inning for Wright compared to the first 3. A double, an error, a run, and a walk so far in the inning, and a couple of strikeouts along with that. Let's put the Monarchs on the board, but still a comfortable 7-run lead for Jayla Wright right now. That's probably the message here as well. You just walk to batter, get a 7-run lead, just throw strikes, and let the defense give you a chance to get out of the inning.
Yeah, I like that leadership from Charla Eckles. Just kind of walk over and say, hey, no big deal. We got you. Let us work. Roll us a ground ball. Sometimes as a pitcher, you can get a little bit isolated in your mind in the circle, especially when you've had so much success in a game like Jayla Wright has had. Then you run into several speed bumps along the way. Just having that teammate come over and give you a nudge like, hey, we got you, no big deal, goes a really, really long way.
Count evens 1-1 to Sarah Fessler.
The other thing that those little timeouts can do is just kind of slow the game down a little bit. I haven't seen the Smoke be put on their heels much. Here in this inning they have. Again, with the courtesy of some errors, a couple hard hit balls as well, especially off the bat of Sarah Vanderford. But when you just call time, slow the game down, regroup, take a little bit control back, it helps defensively tremendously.
If, in fact, the message from her teammates was to throw strikes, right, doing that right now. She's ahead of Fessler 1-2. Jenna Keena waiting on deck. Monarchs trying to claw back into the game. Got runners first and second, but Fessler at a tough count. 1 ball, 2 strikes, and Fessler strikes out. And Jayla Wright getting fired up as she goes back into the dugout. 3 punch outs in the inning. She's up to 5 in the game. The Monarchs are on the board, but Wright throwing Ks. We go to the 5th inning. Smoke on top of the Monarchs, 8-1 on the official WPF YouTube channel. Again, the Smoke have hit 3 homers in this game. One of those homers, a 3-run shot from Elizabeth Mason, a line drive, opposite field home run for Big Cinco. Elizabeth Mason, we're the number 5, and she leads off here in inning number 5, the 5th inning, with the Smoke on top 8-1, and perhaps in territory for another run rule victory as they won last night 9-0 in 5 innings.
There's a whole lot of 5s happening right now.
Yes.
Big Cinco, number 5, 5th inning, 5-inning game last night. Some good omens if you're Elizabeth Mason.
Bottom part of the order, batting here in the 5th for the Smoke, Mason, Bruni, and Jefferson. 8, 9, and 1. DeFeo, good pitch there. It's 0-2. On the ground, up the middle, backhand by Sand. Good pick, but no play. And Mason is on to lead off the 5th inning.
I thought DeFeo was going to try to stick her glove out for this. Looked like she wanted to, but thought better of it. It's hit very hard off the bat of Elizabeth Mason. You see her think about sticking her glove out. If she maybe takes a stab at it, it might be the only play that they have. But that's so tough as a pitcher because if you don't secure it, you might knock it off into right field, and then it turns into 2 bases.
So again, the Smoke, 3 homers. We showed you Mason's from earlier. The other 2 hit by Jefferson, who's on deck, and Charlotte Eckles. And you keep thinking about that Eckles home run, man.
How could I not?
Oh, well, sure. And what's funny, you were telling me a story about, you know, one of your first games when you played in this ballpark for Texas State against Florida State. You had a couple of home runs that day, and one of them kind of similar to the homer that Eckles had.
Yeah, I will be the first to say it was not as cool as Charlotte Eckles because it was not nearly as high of a pitch, but it was up in the zone, and I typically did not go for those as a hitter. Also, first time playing as a Bobcat after transferring in from the University of Arkansas, so the fact that I hit 2 home runs in my first game was just like the joy of a kid coming back to loving the game again. It was a really special day, but
Bruni is safe. That throw a little bit high, but even if it were on target, I think Bruni beats it out. Either way, first and second and nobody out for the top of the order coming up.
you have a good point there. I think even if the throw was on line, it would have been a really, really bang-bang play. Anna Marie Bruni is incredibly fast.
Lightning. And lightning quick. Anna Marie Bruni, that's her second hit of the day. Although has been scored as an error. Either way, Bruni showing off her speed. Another meeting here with the pitching coach at the infield. And Kat Tarvin talking to her plate umpire, Scott Mayer. You referenced earlier some activity in the Monarchs bullpen was not Aspen Wesley. It's Trinity Slaughterback getting loose right now. No pitching change here. But Kat Tarvin did make a change with her lineup card. Perhaps there's a pinch runner out there right now. It's over at second base. Kelly Gooden. About to say there's no way you pinch run for Bruni at first. Just talking about her speed, right?
Not. It'd be really interesting if coaches could have the same person run for everyone. If I was Kat Tarvin, Anna Marie Bruni would be my pick. Just constant base runner.
Fly ball to the left, and that's over the head of Fessler. Goes off the warning track, and that's going to load the bases. With a ball that Fessler misjudged.
Just looks like Fessler lost it out there. Pretty routine fly ball off the bat of Janae Jefferson. Her momentum is taking her to her glove side, but she just overruns it.
And the first pitch here to Espinoza is high. You can see how the shadows start to kind of cut off the sunlight a little bit there out in left field, where maybe the ball just got kind of lost in the sunlight and the shadows there for Fessler, as you said as well. She seemed to overrun it either way. That's a huge outfield error. And now a base hit up the middle by Espinoza. That's going to drive in 2. Bruni slides it and scores. Talked about her speed. Able to motor around the bases. Touches home plate to make it 10-1 Smoke on top.
We just talked about it, the speed of Anna Marie Bruni. She was thinking 2 all the way off the bat of Silent Rain Espinoza. Great slide to the outside part of the plate. Pretty bang-bang play considering the speed of Anna Bruni, but able to slide in there safely.
So 2-run single for Espinoza, winds up at second base on the throw. And Jefferson put on the brakes at third. Second and third, still nobody out. Where the Monarchs had just gotten a run across, maybe some momentum, but Smoke answered right back immediately. And again, in that run rule territory, now on top by 9 here in the 5th inning. Jazz Hill, the batter, as the heart of the order hits now, facing DeFeo. 0-2's fouled back.
Even though the Smoke have been so dominant in this series, it feels like they do such a great job, to me, of playing the game 1 pitch and 1 inning at a time. Because like you just said, they got some momentum, but the Smoke is unfazed. They just keep doing what they do best.
Which is that. And now Hill to run down. Hill to second, slides in, and she's safe. So that throw back towards second a little bit late. Hill with a great slide. No outs in that base running play. And now a 10-run lead.
the Monarchs had Jazz Hill caught up exactly where they wanted her. Emily Hott acting as the cut, does her job, cuts it off. But the issue here is Kylie Sand is running Jazz Hill to the next base. You never want to run the runner too far towards the next base. She should have dumped that ball to Flaherty sooner and let Flaherty run her back. That way, if she is safe, you're not giving up that advanced base.
Well, here's your girl right now, Haley. Charlie Eckles. Last time she was up, had a huge home run. Almost cleared the scoreboard out in right field. 1 ball and 1 strike here to Eckles. A couple of walks and a solo homer her night so far. Swing and a miss, 1-2. Opening weekend, this series was really competitive. The Smoke won the opener 4-2. They won the second game 8-4. They won game 3 in a 13-inning thriller. And then the Monarchs won the finale. That ball drilled to right, but foul.
I almost hit that truck out there.
Oh, man. Wow. Well, Eckles brought the power today.
The way that Eckles swings the bat makes me want to run through a brick wall. It just fires me up.
So again, talk about just how tight and competitive the series was opening weekend. Now, the first game here was pretty tight. Wound up being a 6-3 final, the Smoke winning there, but 9-0 last night, 11-1 right now. This team is just playing at a different level at this stage of the year.
Well, the Smoke makes adjustments so quickly, and they don't chase out of the zone. They don't give away extra bases. Their pitching has been so sharp. Their defense has been so sharp. Of course, there's been a couple errors sprinkled in here and there, but it's the way that the Smoke responds and the way that they set the tone first and foremost. If you're always playing from behind when you're facing off against the Smoke, it's hard to feel confident. It's hard to have momentum.
Bloop single from Eckles. That brings in another run. Espinosa's going to score. So 2 RBI night for Eckles. Extends the lead to 11, 12-1.
This time, Eckles just goes out. That ball's in the other batter's box, almost halfway into the right-handed batter's box, and she still finds a way to get her barrel out there and just bloop it out into center field. If I'm a pitcher right now facing Charlotte Eckles, I might just put her on because there's nothing right now that she can't do.
Got a pinch hitter coming up here in the DP spot for the Smoke. Marta Gasparotto is going to pinch hit. Speaking of the 21 Olympics in Tokyo, Gasparotto had a chance to represent her home country of Italy. And she bats now for the first time of the series. In there for a strike from DeFeo, 0-1. Runners in the corners, still nobody out. And 4 runs have scored in the inning already for the Smoke.
If you're the Monarchs right here, you just need an out. And I go back to that misplayed rundown. If they could have just gotten 1 out on the board, help gain some momentum. Wasn't an error in the books per se, but these athletes know that that's a play that they should have executed on defense. Give their pitcher a little bit more control.
And Kat Tarvin out there with the lineup card again. And she's going to bring in Manny Perez to pinch run for Eckles over at first base. At least that's what she signaled, but I don't see the change coming here. Charlie Eckles looking back in the dugout and almost defiantly now finally goes as she's told, and Manny Perez will come in to pinch run. Well, I think Eckles really wanted to run the bases there.
Well, she certainly didn't want to walk again. I can tell you that after swinging at a pitch that probably would have hit a right-handed hitter, not only swinging at it, hitting it for an RBI single.
Well, Gasparotto strikes out for the first out of the inning. Look back at the pitch here from DeFeo.
DeFeo just pulling the string, getting Gasparotto out in front.
Third strikeout tonight for Alexa DeFeo. And now faces Samantha Shao. 2 on, 1 out. Chopper towards short and mishandled by Flaherty. Recovers and throws, not in time. And another run scores as Jazz Hill comes to the plate to make it 13-1.
It's a tough play for Devin Flaherty over at short. Sam Shao hits this hard into the ground. Flaherty tries to pick it. I think if she would have turned her glove over there, made it a backhand pick, it would have been a little bit easier to come through it, set her up for a better throw over to first. Still had a chance to get Samantha Shao, but just rushed the throw a little bit. Kind of turned one mistake into two there, and now it's 12-1 and still no out on, only 1 out on the board.
And now the 9th batter of the inning comes up, Jada Cody. One ball, 1 strike. Cody in the game, 1 for 2 with an RBI base, or a double, I should say. Back in the 3rd inning, she's technically 1 for 3. Count evens here, 2-2. A nice reunion of sorts, a game start when Cody was facing off against Sona Halajan, the two of them teammates together this past year at UCF. Here's a fly ball to left center, deep and way gone. 3-run bomb for Jada Cody, and the runs keep on coming for the Smoke. 16-1.
Jenna Keene out in center for the Monarchs took 1 step and stopped. There was no doubt that that ball off the bat of Jada Cody was long gone. Just no answer for the Monarchs right now defensively. This pitch from DeFeo just right over the heart of the plate. It is a little bit off speed, but these hitters are too good. You can't leave the ball over the heart of the plate and elevated. Jada Cody recognizing that out of the hand and might be giving Sim Shao a run for her money in terms of distance on that one.
That might be it for DeFeo. Coach Fitton Bachbrader just talked to Scott Baer. 8-run 5th inning for this team and just the 1 out as Slaughterback comes into the game now. Well, you talk about crooked numbers for this team, and they have multiple of those each game. 3 runs in the 1st inning tonight, 4 in the 3rd, 8 rather in the 5th. Last night, they had a 3-run 2nd, a 5-run 5th inning. And then you go back to the opener Thursday. 3 innings they scored twice.
Well, and they score so fast, too. You got 2-run bombs, 3-run bombs. It just feels like it goes from 0 to 60 in 0.5 seconds. I mean, we have played an hour and 45 minutes, but we're already in the top of the 5th, and with 16 runs, that's still a pretty quick pace of play.
To get through this lineup, you need special pitching. And as you talked about earlier, the other staffs in the league just don't have the pitching to compete against a lineup this deep.
Well, yeah, because it's not like the infielders are out here throwing the ball around everywhere and making a ton of mistakes. I mean, the majority of these runs are earned. Hard hit balls. The pitchers aren't walking or having control issues and hitting batters. It's just the classic hit parade. You have single followed by single, maybe a double mixed in there, and then they get a few on, and someone comes up with a big bomb, and just like that, you're down 16-1.
To right field, Andrews fouls. Mason bats here for the 2nd time of the inning. Reached on an infield base hit early in the frame, had a home run of her own, a 3-run shot back in the 3rd. The homer from Cody moments ago, her 2nd of the series. 15 homers for the Smoke last week, 10 now in the series this week, and that's going to drop in for a hit to the left side. So the second hit of the inning for Elizabeth Mason.
Elizabeth Mason gets jammed on this, but again, just finding a hole. It's an outside pitch. Doesn't get her barrel out there, but just kind of gets it off the handle of the bat. Right through the 5-6 hole.
That's now 6 hits in the inning for the Smoke. Anna Marie Bruni batting for the second time, reached on an error committed by DeFeo and later scored.
You know, if you factor in the error by DeFeo, the mental error on the rundown, the Monarchs could have been out of this inning several batters ago. Now, the Smoke probably would have easily, with the way this inning is played out, put up at least 2 or 3 more runs, but they wouldn't have put up 8.
And another base running change here for Kat Tarbin. Probably coming at first base in place of Mason here. I say probably, it has to be. She's the only base runner on right now. Sometimes you lose track of who's on base because so many are getting on. But Mason does stay in the game here. Not sure why the lineup card was out.
I actually wonder if she needed to re-enter her because back in the 5th,
Good.
or well, we're still in the 5th.
Good and
her
earlier.
first at bat,
Yes. That's what it was.
Fortunate that for the Smoke, the Monarchs didn't catch that before Elizabeth Mason's at bat was finished.
Had that been the case, she would have been out.
Yeah, which the Monarchs could use an out right now.
Yeah. If the game were more competitive, I think you might see a huge argument on the Monarchs' behalf. Even though it was after the fact, but now that it's a 15-run game, maybe not much sense in making a case of it.
Or you could argue on the flip side, there's a great reason because you got to try something to try to get an out.
Infield base hit for Bruni. Back to the top of the order here for the Smoke. So, Haley, you know, a game right now, 15-run game, 16-1. You've played a lot of softball, you know, your time, travel ball, high school, and later, you know, the highest ranks in college at the Division I level. As there's a ground ball through the right side off the glove of Sand at second base. That'll load the bases again. And that is the fourth hit of the game for today, Jefferson. What I was going to ask is that you've been on this both sides, up 15, down 15, maybe not that exact number, but you get the point. What's going through your mind in each of those situations?
Well, I'll start with the defensive side. First of all is, how do we get an out? And if I'm a defender, my first thought is hit it to me because I'll find a way to get one. It's very frustrating to be on this side defensively, especially in this case where, like I said, it's not like the defense is making a ton of errors or the pitchers are putting free passes on. It's just a hit parade. So I would like to see someone from the Monarchs just kind of call time, settle it down, slow the momentum of the game. Even if you don't get an out right away, just disrupt the rhythm of the Smoke because we know hitting's contagious, and clearly we're seeing that right now. But then on the flip side, offensively, just continuing to enjoy the game. This is where it's so fun as a team. You're firing all cylinders. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, but with as well as the Smoke has played all season long, it could be very easy for them to get bored, to buy into the fact that they are the best team in the league by numbers by far.
Ground ball to third, force play there. Throw to first, not in time. And that'll bring in another run. Mason scoring to make it 17-1 of the RBI fielder's choice. And now a 3 RBI night for Espinoza.
Just to finish, you know, my thought there on the offensive approach, it's impressive to me with as good as the Smoke is, they continue to show up every single day and play like yesterday never happened. Because it could be so easy to just roll in and expect to win. And I see that a lot of times with girls that I coach. You know, they come off a great game and just expect that to carry over into the next game. But the game doesn't know that you just crushed your opponent 17-1. It's a new game. It's a new slate. And it's just a very professional approach that these smoke hitters just continue to show up with.
Yes, they do. Jazz Hill just bangs a home run of her own out to deep center field. Another 3-run shot. And how about this? A 20-run night for the Smoke.
Just unbelievable. I'm running out of ways to describe this offensive performance.
This is a 12-run inning, by the way, for the Smoke.
I mean, that's easily 240, 250. And the only reason it stopped is because it hit the building. The indoor batting cage is out there.
Just a remarkable inning so far for the Smoke. Goes without saying. 12 runs have scored to make it 20-1. And then you look at some of the big hits. Espinoza, a 2-run single. Jazz Hill and Jada Cody each a 3-run homer in the inning. There have been a couple of errors committed by the Monarchs. There have been singles through each the right and left side. Infield base hits. Just every way you can think of scoring, the Smoke have done it. They've done it multiple times.
The only phrase that comes to mind for me is, what can't they do? Because you're right, we've seen it all.
Your attention, please. Pinch hitting for the Smoke, number 6, Denver Bryant.
Pinch hitter comes up in place of Charlotte Eckles. Denver Bryant's going to hit in her place here. With 2 outs in the 5th. Fouls it away for strike 1. "12 runs on 9 hits so far in the inning with the 2 errors.
You can just tell the body language of these Monarch players right now. They're defeated, and rightfully so. No one wants to give up 12 runs in an inning, let alone be down 20-1. I mean, these are all professional athletes. And what do you do in this situation? It's not like you're booting the ball everywhere. Just have to try to take every opportunity to make every play that you can.
It feels like the Smoke have had 2 really good offensive games in 1 inning right now.
Yeah. This might be the most impressive single inning of softball that I've seen from start to finish. Well, we're still going, but you get the point.
Yes. I've seen 20-run baseball games. Once did a baseball game where there was 30 scored by a single team. Not sure I've ever seen a 20-run softball game ever.
Now you have.
But as you said, as tough as this night has been for the Monarchs, and the score says it all, tomorrow it's a brand new day. That liner caught by Flaherty at shortstop to end one of the more impressive innings of the season here in the WPF in 2024. 12 runs scoring on 9 hits. The Smoke have exploded for a 19-run lead. 3 outs away for their second straight run rule victory over the Monarchs. We head to the bottom of the 5th inning, and boy, everybody's lineup card is just a wreck right now. This after the Smoke scored 12 runs in the top of the 5th inning. Several pinch hitters, pinch runners coming into the game. Game well out of hand now. A 20-1 lead for the Smoke over the Monarchs. With that inning just a microcosm of just how good this year's Smoke team is.
I mean, we're running out of ways to talk about how good they are. They're just flat out ballers. They swing the bats with so much conviction. They pitch lights out in the circle. Unbelievable. I have no words.
You mentioned there were several times where that inning could have ended a lot sooner if not for, some tough plays in the infield. There were 3 errors in that inning committed by the Monarchs. Alexa DeFeo gave up 10 runs in her outing, but only 3 of them were earned.
And that's where, when you're playing a team that is as stacked and as good as the Smoke is, that last inning was a definition for me of you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. 3 errors in the inning. Even the rundown, which wasn't a technical error in the books, it's another opportunity that extends the inning. And the Smoke just takes advantage of every single opportunity that they're given.
In fact, for the game, of the 20 runs, the Smoke have scored 11 of them unearned.
Which is a pretty staggering stat when you think about it, because there's also been several times where the ball's been put in play and there is no play for the defense. But when you think about how many errors have extended the inning, those unearned runs just continue to pile up. So even though it might appear like there's not many opportunities for the Monarchs to make outs, the ones that they didn't make when they had the chance become super critical, and they just create this domino effect.
Jenna King grounds out to start the inning. And one away for Jayla Wright. And the Smoke 2 outs away from calling it a night early once again. About to extend their winning streak to 18 straights. You want some irony? The score right now is the record the Smoke have.
That's wild.
20-1. And 20-1 is the Smoke's record.
We were talking last night, if you were with us, about is it more impressive to win the regular season championship in college or win, the national championship or whatever the conclusion of that season is? I'm feeling like, again, for the Smoke to show up every single day and play the way they have, they're not just winning one-run ball games week after week, day after day. They are throttling the other teams in the WPF. And okay, yes, they're loaded and they have a lot of depth. But, again, it's so easy as an athlete to get bored when you know that you're better than other teams.
For those video game fans out there, it's like playing on rookie mode every time. And winning games like this, eventually you put down the controller and find something else to do.
Right. But the fact that the Smoke has continued to play to their level and not drop to the level of the competition, for me, is a testament to their professionalism, the pride they take in their craft. You don't work so hard at something and make it your job, as these athletes have done, to just show up and be okay with mediocrity.
Fly ball right center, and that's going to bounce off the warning track. Sand on her way to second base. She's had a nice game of the plate. Kylie Sand 3 for 3, a couple of singles, and now a 1-out double.
Kylie Sand having a really good night at the plate. She's had 2 infield singles. Now she finally gets her barrel under one. One hops the wall, able to slide in to second for a double. And while this isn't going to make a dent in the 20-1 deficit that the Monarchs face, this for me is another example of just taking pride in your craft. The Monarchs just had a super rough inning, 3 errors, give up 12 runs, but Kylie Sand says, you know what, I still have the bat in my hands, I still have an opportunity to swing, so I'm going to put my best swing on a good pitch and see what happens.
Brings up Devin Flaherty, who's 0 for 2. A 20-1 lead here for the Smoke. And we talked about the postseason and the silver lining for anybody that is tasked with having to face a Smoke team is that it's single elimination. You don't have to win a series in that first round. You have to win just one game. Now, that's certainly easier said than done as well, as so far they have played 21 of them and have been beaten once.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Exactly. I love the fact you're getting all these older references, by the way, and that one you threw out yourself.
I know stuff about stuff. I keep up with it.
Timeless movie, one of the more quotable of all time, Dumb and Dumber.
I'm going to be really honest. I didn't know that was from Dumb and Dumber. I just know that it's a saying. I'll follow my sword on
I
that
take
one.
back what I said. You don't get the reference. You just know it's something out there in the ether.
But I know how to use it.
Yeah,
and I use it
you
effectively.
used it in the proper context. You did. Two balls, one strike. That'll turn the count to 3-1. We will have the finale for you tomorrow at 1 o'clock here in San Marcos on the official WPF YouTube channel. And we have more softball next week as well as the Monarchs host Coastal Bend for a series next Thursday through Sunday. Just 2 weeks left for the regular season after tomorrow wraps up. And Flaherty draws a walk.
To the plate for the Monarchs, third baseman Sarah Vanderford.
So again, such an offensive game for the Smoke. 20-1 on top here. Sarah Vanderford comes up. And I mentioned just how competitive this series was opening weekend, and some of the scores were lower scoring games. The finale of that was 5-2, kind of more of a lack of a better term here, normal softball score. But the scores over the last 3 weeks or so have really just taken off. Certainly in this game today, as Vanderford rips one to left that hooks foul. And you see the ball's doing a lot of that, just jumping off of the bat. Well, it took about 3 or 4 weeks of the regular season, but all 4 teams were given these pro bats. Not just the Smoke, but the Monarchs, the Adelitas, the Tidal Wave as well. And kind of the difference, though, is that the players holding the bats just happen to be a little bit more talented for the Smoke than the other 3 teams right now.
Well, and the pitching for the Smoke is far and above the pitching for the rest of the 3 teams in the league.
That, too. That's a huge factor into this.
You know, we've seen pitchers for the Smoke make a mistake here and there, but for the Monarchs, the Adelitas, Coastal Bend, you just see a lot more pitches left over the heart of the plate. And whether you're swinging a pro bat or not, if a pitch is elevated over the heart of the plate, it's going to get hit hard in this league. And for those that aren't familiar with the difference between a pro bat versus a college bat, all the bats undergo pressure testing. And in college, you can only reach a certain threshold. So if you have a bat and they say it gets super hot, it might, you know, 2/3 of the way through the season be too hot because it's so broken in that it's going to fail that pressure test. In the pro league, that threshold for compression is higher. So that's why you're seeing these balls just absolutely fly off the bat.
You know, the new bats kind of came in around the time the new uniforms did as well for some of the teams.
The phrase goes, you look good, you feel good, you play good. You got a hot bat, good-looking uniform, really does a number on your confidence.
Vanderford strikes out looking. 6 strikeout for Wrights. And now the Smoke 1 out away from ending the game early here.
Really nice spot from Jayla Wright, just paints the outside corner. I don't think Vanderford was expecting something up in the zone. She'd been hammering anything on the inner half of the plate, pulling it foul, battling off the drop ball. But Wright goes to a flatter pitch in her curveball and freezes Vanderford looking.
Strike one to Brookshire. I remember the second weekend of the year, the series we had, the Monarchs against the Adelitas. The final two games of that series were scores of 3-1 and 2-0. And then a couple of weeks later, just the entire league just flipped on its head. Fly ball to center should end the game, and it does. Caught by Anna Marie Bruni. And for the second straight game, the Smoke have run ruled the Monarchs this time with an explosive 20-1 win, highlighted by a 12-run fifth inning. And that's now 18 straight wins for this franchise.
I mean, we're running out of ways to talk about how impressive the Smoke have been. It's been their bats all season long. Whether they're using pro bats or not pro bats, they've just found a way to get the job done. Absolutely crushing anything left over the white part of the plate, and just a complete, well-rounded offensive performance tonight.
The finale is set for a 1 o'clock start tomorrow here at Texas State's Bobcat Softball Stadium, but that's going to wrap up our coverage of Game 3 tonight as the Smoke improved to 21-1 on the season. So for Haley McKay, I'm Brain Freeman saying so long from St. Marcus. The final score, the Smoke 20 and the Monarchs 1. For more information on the WPF, log on to WProFastPitch.com. This has been a presentation of the WPF. Until next time, good night from Bobcat Softball Stadium.